So I call myself making a year-end review recap video like I do every year. I did this about 2.5 weeks ago. And I did this thinking I learned the lesson. I got what God was trying to teach me. I understand. And I got this now. But literally that same day, it was just like one thing after another began to happen over the course of a week rather. So, start that week, one of my friends had a death in her family. Another friend was in the hospital. So by that Thursday, when I recorded the video, I was in a good space because I felt like, I could show up for my friends and be there for them and be a support. However, regardless of not being in the same cities as them. Then, later that day, after I picked my son up, I got pulled over. And thank goodness, it was, minor, very minor. My city changed a yield sign into a stop sign, unbeknownst to me. And so fortunately, I got out of that situation with only a warning and went on home. Then later that night, I got the news that one of my sorority sisters had passed away. And it was like something broke. At that point, something broke. Because I was just so deeply saddened because she was such an amazing person, such a beautiful spirit. And just, she had this gift about her that, like, everywhere she went, she brought joy everywhere. And so I was really sad about that. Not to mention, I've had a really big project at work, and I had a significant portion of it that I had to get done. I had my final paper for one of my classes to get done on top of my regular schoolwork. And so I was burnt. Like, my candle was very, very dim. Then the next day, I had some things in my own personal sphere to happen. We spent that Saturday in the ER. Then the next week, which was this past week, so I ended up missing the vigil because I had too much homework to do. And then on top of that, my son had a cough. So I missed the vigil, and I had all this work to do to get done. I had to make pretty significant progress on my paper on top of my regular work I had to do. And so I ended up working well past like 1 o'clock on Tuesday, 1 o'clock in the morning, to try to get my work done so I could get my other work done for school. And it was just like, there was nothing left. I was empty. And I quickly came to grips and talked to God and was like, God, I know none of this stuff is in my control. Can't control, someone transitioning. Can't control other people having health issues. I can't even control my child getting sick at school, because if he goes to public school, it's just bound to happen. And, I just sat there and was quiet. And I cried. Like, I cried about losing my sorority sister. And I also just cried about the weight of everything that I had been carrying. And so I tried to push myself to work out, because that's been how I've been releasing stress. And I, instead of me working out 45 days a week the last 2 weeks, I've only worked out 5 times total the last 2 weeks. 2 of those last week, 3 this past week. And so I had to recognize that part of living in the middle of an answered prayer and being obedient, because, God told me to go to school and I followed through with what God told me to do. Part of that obedience, even when you're obedient, even when you've made the right decision, even when you're doing the right thing, there will be challenges that comes along with it. And I think that is something that is not taught enough in church. Like, at least how I've seen it taught, is that we glamorize, if you're obedient, then all of these things will follow. Yes, all of these things will follow, but there's still going to be challenges and obstacles along the way to try to keep you from going forward. And I felt, like I felt the weight of that. Like, God, with everything I'm having to deal with personally, I know I'm trusting on you for a daily grace. The Lord's Prayer says, give us our daily bread. So for me, that's a daily grace, that daily sustenance, what I need to get through today. And maybe that was the lesson in all of this. It's like, all I can do is focus on today. I can't focus on any other day. I can only focus on today. I can only focus on the moments that I'm in right now. Like, yes, plan. I'm a planner. Plan for your future, plan for things, try to accommodate. But there are just going to be things that come up, obstacles that arise that are outside of your control. And if you get so focused and so caught up on the things that you can't control, you miss capitalizing on what you can. And when I realized that, there are going to be things that happen. There are going to be moments when we feel sad, push through anyway. And not to say ignore how you feel, because I had to be very real with myself and recognize, like, I am too tired. I am physically exhausted. It would not be beneficial for me to work out, because it's going to be more detrimental to me than it's going to be helpful at this point. I need to prioritize resting, which is what I ended up doing, is trying to make sure I got as much rest and as much sleep as I could. And now I feel like myself again. And it's difficult, especially when you get a word like, return. And part of what God was teaching me is return, aside from returning control over situations, return to the fact that you don't need to know everything. You don't have to have every single detail. You don't have to have a full blueprint to be obedient, because God will give you that daily grace. And now, being on the other side of it, and like almost at the end of the semester, I only have 2 classes left. I'm done with 2 of my classes, but I have 2 classes for my remaining class and the final for that class. I know it was definitely nothing but God that got me through this year. Like, the things that I've had to deal with that were not part of the plan, it was definitely God. And I had to remember, like, this assignment, this call for me to return to school was something from God. And so I have to put the responsibility and the onus on God for everything. For everything I need to be able to get through this time and to finish school, I have to put that on God. I can't put it on nobody else. I can't put that weight on anyone outside of God, because it's God's problem to solve. It's not mine. And so I don't know if I learned everything I'm supposed to learn from this, like the surrendering and returning control to God over those things I can't control. Like, I don't know if I've learned everything, but I can really say that I'm grateful, because I can see how I used to get myself so bent out of shape all the time about things that were outside of my control, about people, about situations. I let myself get so low when none of those things were in my control. I guess grieving is hard, so you have to feel the feelings. You have to allow yourself to go through that process. You have to allow yourself to process, to feel, to be present, to hurt, so that way, you can allow yourself to go on the journey that grieving is. Same thing with, unexpected things popping up. Like, you can't control when people are going to get sick or when things are going to happen. All you can do is be there. Like, all I could do, is take care of my child. Like, I kept out of school for 3 days last week, so that way he could be in a controlled environment, so his body could fight the cough off. And I think it's easy to focus on everything that's going wrong, because I have to be honest, like, I was focused part of that time on everything that was going wrong, because I had some very important things I needed to get done. Instead of, okay, you know, I can't help, I have to do XYZ for work, or I can't help, my baby is sick, or I can't help, XYZ is going on in this person's life, or this is happening. I can't control those things happening, but all I can do is, okay, God, is this my problem to solve? If it is, I thank you for the tools and the discernment on how to proceed. If it's not my problem to solve, okay, God, show me how to show up for this person. Show me how to show up in this situation. What is my role here in this particular situation? And I see now, like, I have a lot more peace about those things. So I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope that you enjoy the time with your family, if that's what you're doing. And most of all, like, I am focusing on spending the rest of the year in a spirit of gratitude and thanksgiving, because August, September, October, November, these last 4 months, they have been, they have been very, very, very challenging. And again, like I said, but for God's grace, but for God gracing me for this season to be able to go through this, I don't think I would have survived. So have a great day.